hope everyone has been enjoying the Winter Olympics this year. While you've been watching the games, I've been an active participant thanks to Ice Age Continental Drift Arctic Games, a game released in July of 2012 based on the movie of the same name. The footage you're seeing here is of the PC version of the game, but it also released on the Wii, 3DS, DS, PS3, and Xbox 360. The game is no longer available on the Steam store. You'll have to go hunting down third-party sites to find a spare key if you want it to play. Not that you should want to play, it's not very good. Have you ever heard of a game being described as a mile wide but an inch deep? It's a really solid image you can get in your head mentally, where there's so much to do, but everything you're doing is really shallow. Now what if I told you that Ice Age Continental Drift Arctic Games was an inch wide and an inch deep? This game is browser or flash game levels of shallow, and about just as long as well. Alright, we're off to a good start here. It says I can hit the A button to start the game, but I hit the A button and nothing happens. Okay, looks like we're playing the game with a mouse and keyboard then. The game opens up with a cinematic where a great edible treasure is found. Before the protagonists can eat the treasure, the bad guys show up and attempt to claim it for themselves. To its credit, the game has fully animated cutscenes, with actors from the movies lending their talents here. But man, these cutscenes are bad. There's a really hard to describe soullessness to it that I just can't find the right words for. Maybe it's better if I just show you.
In case any pirates decide to show up.
I don't see any pirates, Sid, but you're right about one thing. Life doesn't get any better than this.
Agreed. On a lovely pirate-free day like this, there's nothing that can bring me down.
Perhaps the movie is that uninspired too. I haven't seen Ice Age since the first movie came out back in 2002, but I remember liking it. Also, I can't believe there have been 5 of these movies. The Fox machine has just been churning out these things for a decade and a half. But hey, I'm here to talk about the game, so let's get back to it. Okay, so to settle the dispute of who gets to claim the treasure, you actually pick which team you want to fight for. I picked the bad guys because I'm edgy.
A bountiful treasure, ripe for the picking.
And then you begin the Great Arctic Games, a minigame collection. There are 10 games in all. Whoever wins the most games takes the prize. There are some bonus rounds too, but they're repeats of the same game, so who cares? All the games range somewhere on the spectrum from passable boredom to downright terrible. But sadly, they all feel like they lean a little towards the latter. You start off with Slip Slide. This one's pretty basic. You just slide from side to side, collect acorns while trying to avoid obstacles. Nothing great, but I don't hate it, which is more than I can say for most of the other games. Also, I really like the soundtrack on this level.
Come on!
If you speed up, then spirits high.
So bad!
Well, I like it when I can hear it over the constant bickering of my teammates. This is a problem that is pervasive throughout the entire game. Your companions cheering you on with the same 2 to 3 lines of dialogue over and over and over again. When you win, you get to see your statistics for the game, as well as your progress for the games as a whole. There's a surprisingly large amount of cutscenes here too, usually one in between each minigame. But there's this really annoying problem on the PC version where your mouse cursor will force itself into the middle of the screen each time a cutscene starts, and sometimes randomly at some point during the cutscene as well. Alright, whatever. Next game. Style Jump. It's basically ski jumping but with Tony Hawk tricks thrown in. You go down the ramp to build up speed, then perform tricks in the air by hitting the corresponding button presses. Not super exciting, but also not a lot to talk about. Shell Slide, aka curling. This one is notable for being the only game in the entire compilation where there's any sort of recognition that the other team exists. Every single other game has you basically just performing something by yourself. In this game, you take turns throwing the shells towards the target, attempting to collect acorns, and land yourself as close to the center as possible. You can also attempt to knock your opponent's shell away from the target. For whatever reason, this one had my teammates bickering at me the most, but it's hard to tell if that's really happening or if this game is just slowly tearing away at my sanity. Oh god, here we go. Prehistoric Plumber. Conceptually, I think this game is really funny. You play as a little squirrel, and you have to plug up holes that are appearing in the wall with your limbs. What makes the game bad is the control scheme, or at least it's bad on PC. Your left and right legs move independently. WASD makes your left leg go in a direction, and the arrow keys make the right leg go in a direction. If you want to move your entire body left, you hit spacebar. If you want to move your entire body right, you hit right control. I don't even know what to say about this. Just try to conceptualize how freaking bonkers that control scheme is for a minute. Needless to say, I lost this round because seriously, what? What the heck? On to Mountain Drift, which is alpine skiing. This one just has you skiing down the slope and going through checkpoints. Okay, next. Coconut Slingshot. This was actually my favorite of the bunch. It's real simple. You just hold down the spacebar to pull the coconut and then release to hit targets. Hold for too long and you mess up your shot, so you have to be both precise and accurate.
Captain, I command you to go for distance.
Finally, we get to glacier hopping. This is the worst of the collection. Oh my god, is this one bad. It's just a race to get to the end. How did they mess this up? First thing you will notice is her animations are jittery and terrible. I feel like there are missing frames in there. Her momentum is completely messed up. Jumping will always send you a fixed distance forward, regardless of what direction you were holding and regardless of how fast you were going. Look at me here trying to stop and slow myself down. I just endlessly slide as if there is literally no friction. Not low friction, no friction. I get I'm on ice, but look at this. This minigame is definitely the worst minigame I have ever played in the history of minigames. Up next, we have Bob Smashing. It's the same as the first minigame, but with more obstacles. Next. Okay, the final challenge, Scrat Cannon. This one you have to rapidly click in order to build up strength, then send the squirrel flying. Then you take control of the squirrel to guide him onto targets and go for maximum distance. This one isn't terrible, but I'm seriously disappointed that the final challenge was not a team versus team thing, where everyone from the previous entries jumped in. I think Tug of War would have been a good choice. As I alluded to when I talked about Shell Slide, I think the biggest missed opportunity with this game is that there's no sense of competition. For a game who has competition between two parties at its root, you don't interact with them at all within the minigames. The fanfare that takes place in between the minigames doesn't give quite enough good, fun context either. Maybe a medal system like the Olympics would have been cool. I finished up all those minigames in under 1 hour. The only options you have after the game is done is to play with a friend, but let's be real, why would you want to subject your friends to this? And there's free play where you can play your favorite minigames. I'm using the term favorite very loosely here, okay? I can't help but feel like this game is probably the most fun on the Wii. It feels like something that motion controls might have made a little more fun, but I don't know for sure, I didn't play the Wii version. I award Ice Age Continental Drift Arctic Games a gold medal for the worst game I have played so far in 2018. I think the attempt to make a minigame compilation was a really good idea. Movie tie-in games usually don't have the time to make adventure games that are actually good. But not even a narrow focus was enough to give this game the polish that it so desperately needed.
Sweet.
Up to it, if you know what's good for you.
Flying!
I thought you wanted to win this thing.